everyone, and welcome to Wednesday's Talking Reds. I'm Mo Stewart, and I'm surrounded by sunshine. Behind me, there's Liverpool's beautiful Docs, and beside me, there's Liverpool's beautiful Lizzi Doyle.
Yes.
You like that?
I was going to I made a bad joke before. I was going to repeat it to see if it was funnier or worse, and I thought I'm not going to go with it. I'm just gonna smile and take the compliments.
Well, there you go. And that's what we're in the mood for today. We're all in a happy mood. As I say, it's a beautiful day and Liverpool's still a great football team. So why wouldn't we be happy? Someone else is probably quite happy today. It's Sheyi Ojo. He's just officially sealed his season-long loan over to Rangers. So he's going to get a chance to play some football after quite a frustrating 18 months for him out on loan at Ram, and it didn't really go for him very well. He's obviously going to be linking up with a lad we know very well up there in his new manager, Gerrard, Lizzi. And it's an opportunity for him to really show what he can do after, as I said, a really frustrating few months.
Yeah, it is. It's an exciting time for Sheyi Ojo, and the thing is, he's sort of left my radar a little bit. When was it that he first started to get a game?
Early 2016. So
was it under Klopp or Rodgers?
It was. I believe he was with the first team under Rodgers, but his debut came under Klopp.
Okay, so obviously Klopp has had an eye on him, and then again, like I say, it all went a bit quiet. You didn't really know too much about him. There was him and sort of Ben Woodburn fell in the same category. Like they looked like they were about to break through, then they disappeared a little bit from making the bench. Whether that's just because we strengthened, I don't know. But then the news come out that he'd signed a 5-year deal, and I was like, what? He signed a 5-year deal, but he's literally like nowhere to be seen, or that I knew of anyway. I hadn't seen much of him at all, and I thought, well, okay, to sign a 5-year deal, that's promise, isn't it? And someone clearly has some belief in him, and someone thinks that he could be the business at some point. And then I thought, well, where's he going to get game time? So I think the fact that he's getting a loan move is really, really, really good news as well. And say what you want about like the Scottish League, but to play for Rangers or Celtic, it's competitive.
Oh, yeah.
You'll get a lot of game time. And like I say, he's with Gerrard, he's with Stevie, probably the best mentor he could get. Obviously, if Stevie stays, which I think we expect him to, it's a good move. It's a really good move, and I'm made up for the lad because he was promised. You know, there was a lot of talk of potential with him. Yeah. I just don't think we've had the chance to see it yet.
No, and it's interesting you mentioned Woodburn, and I think of some of the other guys around his ilk, Curtis Jones, Harry Wilson, Ovi Ejaria, all of these people who we've kind of hoped would potentially have a chance to develop. He's played more Premier League games than all of them. And then we look at the impact Ryan Kent had last season at Rangers. He's probably thinking he can still come back and influence the team.
I have no reason to think not. And for me, what I would be saying to Shay Ojo if I was Klopp, which I'm not, and that's why I'm sat here, and Jurgen Klopp's a European Cup winner. If I was Klopp, I don't know, Shay Ojo's dad or something like that, I'd be saying to Shay Ojo, look at Divock Origi. That's what I'd be saying to Shay Ojo, because we all written off Divock Origi. You know, he's had two loan spells, hasn't he, since he's been in Liverpool. One which was terrible, and then he didn't do too well. It was at Wolfsburg,
yeah.
To the point where, you know, we come back, and I don't necessarily think it was because we needed him, was it? I don't really remember the story.
There wasn't really any good offers for him where he could potentially go and develop. So he came back. Basically.
So he came back, and madly he found a place in this side, this European Cup winning side, this side that's pushed Man City to the absolute end to one point. And the reason I'm saying Divock Origi is because I think, like I say, we all written him off a little bit, and we thought he'll go at some point, and you know what, okay, if he's brought back, he might do the odd little job, he comes back, Divock Origi's bigger, he's stronger, and he changes his, you know, he plays on the left now as well, and he's made such a difference. And if I was Shay Ojo, I'd be looking at Origi for inspiration and saying, well, you know what, I'm not cast off. They've offered me a 5-year deal, that's got to mean something. I'm going to take this time, I'm going to learn and adapt, and hopefully I can come back and make a bit of an impact like Origi, a bit of a comeback in a way. I don't want to say comeback because I know he's only a young kid, but I think we're all so guilty of it's in a good way, it's just in a good natured way in the Scousers' heart that we really want kids to do well.
Yeah.
So I think, I just think that's what he should do personally.
Definitely. I think another part of it as well is that it's really easy or really hard to stop yourself making these kind of instant judgments. We only see him a little bit and we think, oh, well, we've not seen him so much now, so he's obviously not as good. But young players, they'll go through peaks and troughs all the time, even the ones at the highest level. I mean, look at Trent for a classic example of that. So to kind of write them off so early, it's probably not the best thing to do. So here's hoping that Ojo can reclaim some fame for his career and have a really good season over there at Rangers with Steven Gerrard. Now, you mentioned, Lizzie, that we expect him to still be there. Now, that's mainly because there was a report yesterday from Matt Hughes of the Times saying that Derby County has sounded out Stevie as a kind of contingency plan if, well,
Lampard goes to Chelsea.
When they lose Lampard to Chelsea, it's pretty much the done deal as far as I can see. Now, Gerrard was having none of it. He let it be known that even though it was only an informal inquiry, that he didn't want to speak to Derby. He was happy where he was. And that's a good sign, I think, not just for Shay Ojo, but he's really thinking about his long-term plans in management. He's committed a 4-year contract to Rangers last summer. He's had a good, impressive first season, even if he didn't end with silverware. He's already made 5 signings in pre-season for next year, Lizzie. He's planning for the long haul, isn't he?
I think so. And I remember before he signed for Rangers, there was this talk of MK Dons, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, he should be coming to the English League. The Scottish League's just Rangers, it's just Celtic. But I think Rangers is a big task because, you know, they were at such a high level, then they had that period where they dropped out the league and they had to claw their way back to get back to the top division, if you want to call it, back to the Scottish Premier League. And now they're ready to contend with Celtic again. And it's a big deal in Scotland. It might not be for us here in England, but it's a big deal in Scotland, and Rangers will be desperate.
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time that they won the title?
I think going back to maybe 2012, 2011.
It's a good couple of years ago, isn't it?
Rangers fans, you can correct me.
No, please do. Like, it was just out of curiosity. I don't profess, you know, to know
The
much
interesting
about
thing
it.
about it, though, is that obviously we've had a period of unprecedented dominance from Celtic. The treble, which has literally never been done in all the years of Scottish football. If he can be the man who topples that dynasty, that's going to be such a massive feather in his cap. And it's almost like, in my mind, he's doing what he told Luis Suarez to do when he wanted to go to Arsenal. It's, don't settle.
Yeah.
Stay here, build your reputation higher, then you can go to the next level.
Definitely. And I also think as well, I don't think, well, we know Gerrard's not soft. Like, I think he has got a bit of a plan, and I do think he's thinking long term. I think when we say long term, I'm thinking maybe three years before he looks to move on. But I think as Steven Gerrard, he's a very savvy man, and he'll want a good reputation. And I think Lampard's done really well at Derby, and I actually think it'd be a shame for Derby to lose Lampard. But if the Chelsea job comes up for Frank Lampard, it's a dream come true, and everyone knows that he can't turn it down. And just quickly on that, he goes into a season where actually I don't think there's much pressure on him at all, because they've got a transfer ban, so nobody's expecting them to hit the heights. So I think he gets to come in at that. But anyway, with Gerrard and Derby, I think the pressure on Championship teams now is huge. It's like a mini Premiership, because you're seeing a lot of foreign owners coming into the Championship now, because there's this prospect of the big, shiny, glittery Premier League, and there's a lot of pressure from these owners who are pumping money into these smaller sides, as such. I don't want to call Derby a smaller side, because they are a Premiership team. They have been there a good few times.
Definitely.
But the pressure to get to the Premiership is huge, and we've seen it with like Leeds. Is it Leeds have had quick turnovers? I think like Nottingham Forest have gone through a good few managers, and I understand why, but I think for Gerrard, I don't think that's a pressure he needs just yet, because I think he needs to get some experience under his belt. If he stays at Rangers for 2 or 3 seasons, it might be that he goes to the Championship next, and people might think he might be ready for a bottom half Premier League side. Like, I don't know. like a Bournemouth-style team. I'm saying just in terms of the ranking.
Size, yeah.
But Championship's hard, and I think it would have been a bad move for Gerrard to go to the Championship personally.
Two things that he's going to get in Scotland that he probably won't get in the Championship: a realistic chance of winning a trophy.
And loyalty is one.
And longevity, which is largely the same thing. Those are two things that you aren't getting at many Championship clubs. So I agree. I think Stevie's done well at Rangers, and I'm hoping that he is going to be the man to end the Celtic dynasty. Now, speaking more on a European term, we've had some more news regarding the ticket allocations for the European Super Cup, which is coming up in Turkey in August, and the news is predictably shit.
It's bloody terrible is what it is. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, we've been given, I think, just over 5,000.
5,200.
5,200.
What's the capacity of that stadium?
Well, there's been a few reports on the capacity, but I've seen it's between 38 and 41,000. So essentially, they could have doubled the allocation for both Liverpool and Chelsea, and UEFA still would have had nearly 20,000 tickets to piss around with. Now, obviously, this is still kind of rumbling on over the course of the last two European finals and previous years as well. We've seen recently that Platini's kind of been investigated for corruption, all these different kinds of things. UEFA and FIFA are kind of crumbling at the moment. Is this ever going to change?
Not for the immediate future. No, it's not. It's not. And the thing is with the Super Cup, I mean, I don't know too much about the Super Cup in terms of what the allocations are like usually, so maybe I was a little bit naive when I was a bit angry about the allocation, but what I was thinking of is this isn't an elite European competition.
No.
I mean, it's a great occasion. I really enjoyed the Super Cup, and I remember my dad and my brother went one time when they were younger, and they found it fairly easy to get tickets. And I honestly thought that this is an opportunity for people who couldn't be in Madrid. This is for, people who couldn't get tickets. This is an opportunity to take your kid to a European away. And then 5,000 comes out. Like, it's a joke.
It is.
It's an absolute joke. And what happened in Baku with the 6,000 tickets, and then the stadium was empty, to no surprise, by the way. It's just another one. It's just another thing that UEFA are doing wrong. And when do we say enough is enough? And I know it's only the Super Cup, and people might be thinking, why are you kicking up such a fuss? It's the precedent of it.
Exactly.
It's the thought behind it.
For UEFA, the Super Cup is important. It's basically their two highest teams, the two who won the two trophies that they have any control over. So they want to put it out as some kind of big showpiece event. And yet they don't seem to care with empty stands and disgruntled fans. Anyway, we're not going to talk too much about UEFA. That's happened. If you are trying to get a ticket, all the best.
There is a ballot for neutral tickets, by the way, where you can apply for up to 4 tickets, so I would highly recommend doing it. Probably chances are extremely slim. Maybe put like a Cornwall postcode or something like that in. I mean, I shouldn't probably be suggesting this on the official YouTube channel, but go for it anyway.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. So we've got lots of brand new shows coming out today on the Anfield Wrap. Lots to tell you about. We've got Make Us Dream. We've got the Gutter Show. We've got another transfer request show. In fact, the first transfer request show that we're going to be recording pretty soon after this. And there's also something that you had a lot of input in, Lizzie, our Cup of Tea show, which is where we kind of take some time to have a chat to someone who's well known within the Liverpool community. And this time we're talking to Paul Dehaney, who's the director and founder of Africa Oye Festival, one of the best cultural events
fabulous.
Liverpool has to offer.
It's an amazing event, so just very quickly, it's this Saturday and Sunday, 22nd, 23rd. It's for free, it's in Sefton Park, biggest celebration of African culture, probably in Europe, I'd say. It's renowned across the world. This festival is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the year, and it's family friend. It's family.
Yeah.
Family friendly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's great anyway. It's a really amazing festival. But I just basically had a little chat with Paul for half an hour, and it was also the first time we've seen Paul since the Champions League final. So obviously I had to get that in as well. But
Paul's
to
a
be
big
fair,
Spurs fan.
to be fair, he's a boss Spurs fan, and he said he was really proud of the city when he saw like all the scenes for the parades, and he said because he feels like an honorary Scouser, and he has said to me on the podcast, and I will do it for him, as a Spurs fan, he wants to invite every single one of you down to Sefton Park to have a bevy and enjoy Liverpool being European Cup winners with permission to find Paul and go and gloat away. What more do you want?
Yeah, you can't say any fairer than that. He is a king amongst men, and that is a king amongst festivals, and I personally can't wait for it. There's another quite good festival happening the week after that you and I are both going to be going to. I'm not going to mention that one today though. We've spoken for a little bit too long. Thank you very much, Lizzie, for joining me on this wonderful sunny day, and yeah, go out and enjoy yourselves.